Old habits die hard, and Helmut Marko's habit of scrutinizing Sergio Perez isn't going anywhere like bad weeds on your lawn. Sergio Perez started the year on fire, not finishing lower than P5 in the first 6 Grands Prix and racking up 4 podiums. But since Imola, things have taken a nosedive. Surrounding the timing of his contract extension with Red Bull, Perez's record has plummeted to 2 DNFs and 2 8th-place finishes. His P8 qualifying in Barcelona was his best Saturday showing in recent races, though a penalty pushed him back to start at P11. Red Bull is in a bit of a pickle with Checo's recent dip in performance, and team consultant Dr. Helmut Marko isn't having it anymore. He says Red Bull can't afford this slump. Marko started off by pointing out that McLaren had the faster car in Spain. Then he proceeded to slander Perez. The 81-year-old Austrian admitted to Speed Week, Max Verstappen drives practically error-free, which Lando Norris can't do yet, thank God, but he remains our main competitor. So I hope that Mercedes will get stronger and be the second strongest force for a while, which would certainly help us with a view to the World Championship. Red Bull recently extended Sergio Perez's contract, mainly to maintain the sense of familiarity after a chaotic start to the season. Dr. Helmut Marko, however, admits this move to restore calm and continuity hasn't exactly hit the mark. Checo started much further back than he finished, he said, referring to last weekend's Spanish GP. But now that the field is coming together like this, we can't afford any weaknesses. McLaren CEO Zak Brown chimed in, saying, Perez has to step up if they want to remain competitive, because Max tries to win every race, while Sergio only tries to get points. That gives us the opportunity to get a little closer. And Marko agrees with this. His reply to the statement was, exactly, Max can't drive at the limit like this for an entire season. The overtaking manoeuvre that put him in the lead was already extraordinary even for him. After the Spanish Grand Prix, German publication Bild claimed that Max Verstappen was faster than his own car, and Helmut Marko agrees with that notion. That sums it up well, said Marko. Max wins because he is so confident, not because the car is so good. And with their upcoming home race at the Red Bull Ring, Marko sent a subtle threat to Checo, warning the Mexican to do better. We also have a sprint race again, so if we don't do well on Friday, that could go wrong. After a long Sunday afternoon at the Spanish Grand Prix, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner was asked about Sergio Perez's current performance levels. His reply was, we need Checo Perez in the mix. He knows that, and the team know that. If he's on the back end of the top 8, you lose strategic options, whether you split your strategies and so on. Checo, in the first 4 or 5 races this year, was fantastic. We just need to get him back into that headspace. I think that he's had a couple of difficult races and things haven't gone his way, Horner added. He's a confidence-driven driver, I think, and I think that hopefully he'll have taken some, he's back in the points here, drove a decent race. Hopefully he'll take some confidence out of that for the following races. Before the race, our simulation said P8 was the optimum from 11th on the grid, so he achieved that today. He did it on a 3-stop strategy. I think, and I hope that he will take quite a bit of confidence out of that race and hopefully take that into the next couple of weekends, which are big weekends for him. Perez, who has seen his teammate Max Verstappen win 7 wins out of 10 races in 2024, admitted that the competition is tough. He mentioned taking valuable lessons from a challenging weekend in Barcelona, where Red Bull faced mounting pressure from Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren. It's been a good weekend in terms of learning, understanding, so hopefully we are able to come back in the coming weekends, said Perez. Barcelona's probably one of the hardest places to overtake. It's where you damage your tyres the most in dirty air. So, yeah, I'm pretty disappointed. But I think given where we started, it was pretty much the maximum we could do. We had to really fight hard to get those points, because the race wasn't as straightforward as I hoped it would be, so we struggled quite a bit. In what might seem like an excuse to some, especially to Helmut Marko, Sergio Perez has shed light on the root of his recent struggles. Perez explains that his woes in Formula One's Spanish Grand Prix were due to his inability to balance the car for all speeds. Perez was sorry about his tough start, where struggling to gain ground in the opening stint turned into a nightmare due to excessive degradation on the soft compound tyres. This issue left him battling uphill throughout the race. He said, "Yes, with the penalty we had, where we started. It was so difficult to pass on that first stint, and then my race was over. I was stuck behind Nico Hülkenberg, and I was just sliding around really badly. It was a nightmare of a race. It was a very difficult race overall. We switched to a three-stop, and we managed to come back to Pierre Gasly and secure 8th, but it was very hard. Everything was compromised from that first stint." Perez blamed his ongoing struggles in single-lap conditions to balance limitations with his RB20. These issues prevented him from pushing his car to the limit, which has only added to his disappointment on the track. "I think I've understood a lot of things that happened over the weekend during the race. The balance was quite off on the softs, so linked to the qualifying issues we had, so we can come back strong." Perez also revealed that he's grappling with a car that can't be optimised across all corner speed ranges. "I was quite front limited. I couldn't get the rotation and couldn't get the power down," he explained. "The problem I have at the moment is that I can't balance the car for all the speeds. I am struggling quite a bit in the medium to low speed to be able to have the stability I need with the rotation. That is something I am working quite hard with the team. We did some aggressive changes for the weekend, which I don't think worked, so we will review those." Perez has admitted that making extensive setup changes in a desperate attempt to find a breakthrough during practice backfired, ultimately contributing to his poor result. He said, "Our weekend was dirty in terms of we basically explored, more than testing probably, the car from FP1 to FP2. We have never swung around so many things on setup. We were a bit desperate to try and find a balance. So we need to review all of that, but I see the light out of the tunnel. But for his own sake, he needs to find something that works for him. And soon, because even a shiny new contract hasn't stopped people from clamouring for Red Bull to rip the contract apart and find someone better." Predicting that Red Bull will regret resigning Sergio Perez due to his recent performance, Michael Bleekemolen has urged the reigning champions to replace the Mexican driver with one of their old ones, one by the name of Carlos Sainz. Bleekemolen had every intention of insulting the Mexican driver when he said that Checo needs a refresher on the basics of racing before he risks losing his Formula One race seat. He told Racing News 365, "He could visit our karting track once, so he can practice some ideal lines and start to learn some of the basics, because he'll be done for otherwise. That would be a shame, but that's the way it is. And I have yet to see if his contract will last. People will get second thoughts when they see his results. But then," he continued, "another question would be, what other option does Red Bull have? Who is fast and good enough for that seat? In that case, I would say, go and get Carlos Sainz. I would look towards Sainz. He doesn't have a seat yet. Again, Sainz is not at the level of Max, but he is only a little bit behind. And that's obviously good for the team, because they don't want Max to be beaten by a teammate. That's not going to happen either, so then someone like Sainz is good. Sainz doesn't crash much, and I think that would be a good one. What do you think? Are the critics, both from in and out of the team, right about Sergio Perez? Or is he being compared too harshly to his machine of a teammate? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell for the hottest F1 news.